And Cassie, you make a great point. Services are generally cheaper, but we want to, the issue is at the state level, it's easy for them to say with the waivers and the flexibility that, you know what, you get to live in freedom because you are less expensive. You have to go into an institution because you cost more. And that's the problem. We should have a right to stay in our own homes irregardless of cost. Freedom is our birthright as Americans, and we're looking for that to be affirmed by the government we elected to represent us. And that's what we're looking for Congressman Ryan to do, to support our freedom. At this point, all we're doing is giving states more flexibility, and we're giving them the ability to to cut services. We don't want them to have the flex without the accountability. We want them to be responsible to provide us the services we need.
Yeah.
How many of you are from Wisconsin?
Right here.
Right here.
And I would like to. And behind you. Just one more thing though, you could support domestic expenses for cheaper in the community on an aggregate level, because most of us, even in a nursing home, there's people in there that come up and dress themselves, do everything sometimes, and they're just there, as cash cows. So basically, you start giving people freedom and community care, you can support domestic expenses first, and it's still going to cost them.
The other thing is 80% of the residents that currently live in Wisconsin's nursing facilities, over 80% are single women whose husbands have passed, and they go quietly. And that's part of the deal. I was one of those people they judged uncooperative, and they gave me the little pink pill. And antidepressants just made me pissed off. Sorry, but they work opposite on me. But I was medicated because that was what they needed to do, because I was cruising the nurse's station. All I wanted to do was go have a cup of coffee with some friends, and I had to have a family member sign me out. I couldn't go with people I grew up with. And that's not right.
It's not very patriotic.
They drug everybody in this room.
But that time, they got family. They heard, I know some people who have family. What are you going to do? Are you going to suffer to work all your life? I'm gonna kids from my own. I don't have family. Some people got family. What are you going to do if you go to a nursing home?
I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, I know it's hard when you don't have family if you're in a situation like that.
I'm from Wisconsin, and I have been at the Capitol a lot during all of this labor and all of our rights being challenged. And people say, the labor issue got so much attention that there was a lot taken away from how far different everything was going to change with what Congressman Ryan is proposing. And I've met with Dennis Miller with ADAPT and also spoke on a personal level. And I can tell you that right now, the way that Dennis Smith, Secretary Smith, wants to change the face of Medicaid and Badger Care and family care, our life as it is will be nothing like this, and we will have no choices. We will not. If you put block grants in, I truly, after living with a disability and working as an advocate for myself and other people, I'm here to tell you that block grants are not giving us any choices. It's taking 100% away, and it's a fact that you guys are putting money in other places and taking it from the people with disabilities and senior programs, and I don't get it at all. It's absolutely illogical what you're doing. It's not even logical.
So you don't think the Badger program is good?
The Badger Care works great, but what you're going to do to it, or what Dennis Smith is, I know you keep saying that you're not. What you're proposing, you're sounding like Badger Care is a badge of honor because it took 3 years to create it. Hands down, that was a good thing. My sister, my brother, my daughter, my grandson are all recipients of it. My brother just had open heart surgery. If they do to Badger Care what they're talking about, he will have no medications paid for. He will have no doctor's calls, none. He will not qualify for Badger Care because he's a single man unemployed. He doesn't have a disability that the government said you're disabled and can't work. Right now he's in that great place. So if they do what is proposed right now by our Secretary of Health and Human Services, that man, just taking one person who just had open heart surgery at the end of January, will have nothing at all to fall back on. Now, Dennis Smith's response to that, and to some of my other friends who say, I won't get chemo, I won't get my medications. My daughter, who has arthritis and other ailments, needs medication, but she can work. She can't work if she doesn't have medication. Badger Care is taking the medication away. So ultimately, you took the job too. There's things about what's going on that I don't believe, and again, I don't think that the people here from Wisconsin are all, Adaptive Wisconsin has really researched this for the people who can't, and we're here to tell you that it's not okay what Dennis Smith and the way the bill and the proposals are. It's not going to work. We're going to die.
We see what's happening with flexibility.
And while you talk about the praises of Badger Care and what a great program it is, not giving the states adequate funding to provide that service is going to mean that it's going to disappear. You're cursing it to be a failure. It's already on a freeze because of budgetary issues, because they do not have enough money to provide services to the people who need them. Basic human rights to the people who need them the most in the community. And you're saying you want to lessen the funding that's already restricted and causing a stranglehold on states that want to keep people in the community as opposed to institutions.
I want to talk. My name is Ruby Fox. And please write that down.
Ruby Fox.
RUBYFOX. And I want you to have Paul Ryan call anyone on the Joint Finance Committee and tell them you met me because they have heard me. And I will let you know what's going on. I have been married to my husband for 29 years. I have been his home health care provider for 29 years. I don't get paid for that job because I married him. I have done this job at no cost to the state. In those 29 years, we have had over 40 abused women and children in my home. When I tried to get assistance from the state, what the state said is I had to make those women unfit mothers so that I could take care of the children. I refused to do that. Yes, because they were dealing with abusers and they were supposed to do this. I said I refused to do that because I'm putting the family back together. I have, will you let me finish? You can come back with your question when I'm done. Then I have a 95% success rate. They don't return to the abuser, as I have done that out of the goodness of my heart at no cost to the state. Now, I do not have a work record because I have volunteered for the state of Wisconsin for my whole life. I'm not entitled to Social Security disability. I have now been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. My insurance is the Badger Core plan. That is exactly what's on the press called me yesterday. They want interviews with me all over the place. And you guys are going to decide, because whatever you do, if I have to put everybody's name on my tombstone because they voted to murder me, damn it, I'm going to do it. I'm sorry. I think you know my name. You can understand why. But I can't stop. I'm sorry. How else do you fight it? How else do you fight it? And I'm not the only me out there. That's what scares me. Dennis Smith, talk to him. Oh, honey, you're not going to get cut. My first program, mine is the newest program. It's Adults Without Children. It's the newest, yes, it's a Badger Corps play.
My brother's
And that's the same as her. And it's the newest one, it's the most expensive one. My chemo costs between $10,000 and $15,000 a month. So, mine is going to be the first one to come.
It's because of so many people in Wisconsin that have been without any kind of basic health care for in excess of 15 to 20 years. I mean, we did away with for childless adults years ago. We had it wasn't an FDC, but it was very similar, and it entitled individuals with mental illness the access to Medicaid so that they could get their drugs. You look at the road we took, the curve we went on about 15 years ago, and look what's happened with our prison population in this state. And when you hear that 75% of the women in the Tachita prison are being medicated for being mentally ill, it's another institution industry. It's a prison, but it's another institution industry. And there's people, jobs that depend on those people being prisoners. If you look at the rest of our prison population in Wisconsin, I believe you'll find that like 60% of them are being medicated for mental illness. We did away with the large mental illness institutions in the late 70s, early 80s. But in Wisconsin, we didn't develop community services like Minnesota. So in a state with very similar populations and very similar crime rates, we have over 18,000 people, actually it's 22,000 this year in prison, and Minnesota's got 7.
Is the Minnesota program, is that a state program, or is that something they got a waiver for?
I am sure they've got a waiver for it. It's state and federal match.
State and federal match for the Minnesota program.
I got point and the nursing home. I got take my surgery. I want to know what kind of services, kind of schools, kind of job programs, I have programs I go to. I keep paying more money.
For jobs programs?
Yeah.
That decision to be made at the state level? You're asking about job programs that you're involved in and the funding for those?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
The funding for those jobs programs, that comes down to the county level? That's a state-funded county administrator?
Okay,
I'm pretty sure
That's
I just got my wife. I live in Waukesha, Wisconsin. My wife had a mini stroke in October 25th or 6th.